This movie was really bad, and it was my first time watching it, unlike any of the other X-Men movies. Well, besides Deadpool 2. But that one was awful too. Aside from my review for Deadpool 2, I decided to be a bit nicer. And I did not mean the words I said. I said it was a decent sequel, but I really hated that movie. That's got to be the worst movie I've seen so far that's connected to the X-Men universe. And this is the second. And then third is X-Men 3. X-Men 3 was the worst until I saw those two. But boy, this movie sucks. A lot of criticism I saw when this movie originally came out. And it was really the only thing I heard about it. Was that Quicksilver got taken out of the entire movie. And he did. They did not know what to do with him in this movie, clearly. But they act like that didn't happen in Apocalypse. Sure, he was there. But he got taken out of the final battle. It's just something they've been doing with Quicksilver since they introduced him. His one scene in Future Past. His few action moments in Apocalypse. And then, eventually just getting sidelined and doing nothing. Beast design looks a little bit better. This movie just feels like a bad fan-made film, not an actual movie. Hank knocking the glasses and stuff off the table while arguing with Charles was a good scene. A decent scene anyway. But it's something I would expect from a more low-budget movie. It's pretty cliche when you get in an argument with someone and then you break shit. But his arguments and points were good. I just didn't like that part of the scene. Mystique barely does shit in this movie and she gets killed. Which I didn't care for. I didn't care about it. Jean and Mystique weren't very close either. But they treated it like they were. Storm does a little bit more in this movie, but she really doesn't do much. She clearly hasn't developed that much from Apocalypse when she was basically a little kid in that movie. She does a few cool moves here and there, but she doesn't do much. Magneto's basically doing the exact same thing he was in Apocalypse, just not with the family. They don't even mention his guys. Wow. But yeah, he has two guys. He has this dude that has long hair, so basically just a male version of Medusa, and this girl named Selene, who's basically a female version of Charles, but she can walk. And she has hair. We get a cool moment of Magneto and her teaming up. There's a really cool scene where both Charles and her are fighting to get Nightcrawler to each other. Charles wants Nightcrawler to him so he can go in there and stop Magneto from killing Jean. And Charles has, Selene is trying to get Nightcrawler there so she can kill him. It's a pretty tense scene, but it lasted way too long, so it ruins it in the end. She ends up teaming up with Magneto for a bit. We get a cool scene, and she gets thrown out the train, and then Magneto just immediately forgets about her. He's like, Selene, no. Hank, go help Storm. That is legit what happened. And then the other dude that I don't even think he had any lines. He gets tackled, like a football tackle, out of the train. Nightcrawler is the one who sees it. So you would think he would go out there and teleport and try and grab him before he dies. No. He doesn't attempt to save him at all. This movie has a lot of aliens. I didn't care for them. X-Men movies aren't the best. They have been ridiculous at times. But aliens, are you kidding me? That's just fucking ridiculous. It's like they wanted this movie to flop. We see that Beast has a little bit of guilt for Mystique's death in one scene, and it's just a very brief mention. He's like, yeah, I basically got her to kill herself because I didn't let her leave, and she didn't like you. I guess she was right to nightlock you. And then that's it. It's never mentioned again in this 2-hour-long movie. Nightcrawler does do some stabby, killy, and he gets beat up. So we do finally get to see Nightcrawler do some cool stuff, but near the end of the movie, and then he doesn't do anything cool again. It's pretty dumb. I really wish they would have nailed these characters more. You can have bad movies and still make the characters good at least. But no, they can't even do that. Didn't even give him his sword from the comics. Just said he can teleport and he's blue, that's enough. Cyclops gets the F word of this movie. I didn't care for it. I think most of the time they use the F word, it's pretty good and works during tense moments. Like when Magneto said, "Who the fuck are you?" to Apocalypse. It was a funny scene. When Future Past, Charles Xavier told Wolverine to fuck off, it was a pretty good scene, though they referenced an older movie. And it wasn't exactly what Wolverine said, and that bothered me, but the actual line is pretty good. And so on and so on. The Wolverine one was a pretty good F-bomb drop, and this one, Cyclops just simply says, well, don't hurt Jean, and then he throws in the F word into that sentence. And it doesn't even matter because he said it to Magneto, and then Magneto's immediately talking to Charles right after. So it's like they wanted to throw the F word in, but make it as meaningless as possible. You get one F word and you wasted it. This movie just was so bad. But I at least liked it better than Deadpool 2. And I know that's a controversial opinion since it did pretty well for some reason. But yeah, Mystique doesn't really last that long. She gets killed by Jean by accident, but they act like it's on purpose. She loses control and she tells Mystique to leave her alone, and she does the thing she's been doing throughout the whole movie, just blowing people back. That's what she does a lot in this movie. She uses her powers and throws people backwards. Ooh. And she does it to Mystique, but there happens to be some wood there, and she gets impaled. Just like Logan. Kinda lazy, if you ask me. Kill off two famous characters in the exact same way within 2 years. Except this version of Mystique sucks. The one from Xmen 1, 2, and 3 was amazing. And she didn't even have that much screen time. This one was shoved down our throats and she sucked. Speaking of her sucking, she has a terrible line in this movie that I almost forgot about. But unfortunately I didn't. Or she just randomly tells Charles that, hey, the women do most of the saving here, so we should call the team the X-Woman. Okay. That's just wrong and dumb. If you remove Nightcrawler from the space mission, or Quicksilver, half of the shit wouldn't have got done as fast, and most of the people probably would have died. It's that simple. This movie was just pretty bad. Magneto's a few things here and there, but he's definitely nerfed. Well, not actually nerfed power-wise, but as a character, he's just not as cool in this movie. Movie ends with Magneto and Charles Xavier playing chess one last time. And that's how they ended the series, with this flop of a movie. I love how they put Quicksilver on the poster. I just now realized that. But he's in 2 scenes. Besides the third one, when they're like, oh yeah, he's not dead, here he is. Where his line is ironically telling someone to slow down. And that's it for Quicksilver. This movie was just not good. At one point, she makes Charles Xavier walk up the stairs. I didn't care for that scene. It didn't do much for me. I think it was just cool. They just wanted to do it to, have a cool moment in the trailer. Best scenes, what is that, 2 minutes? I didn't mean to click on it. But honestly, only line I liked in this movie, even though it was kind of cliche, was when Jean tells the fucking alien girl. I don't even think they gave her a name in this movie. If they did, it wasn't mentioned. Storm, Beast, Raven, Vuck Smith. Yeah, I think that's her. I don't know. Might be. The only good line I liked in this movie, and it was still kind of cliche, was when Jean says, "You want my power, you can have it." And then she pulls her right back in. That was it. This movie was just not very good. It had a few decent lines, had some good scenes, but then they would make them drag on for too long. It just sucked. And then a lot of this movie, even though they reset the timeline, is doing shit from past movies. Which I think is dumb. Charles Xavier's working with the president again. Just like the original series. The Xmen are more accepted, just like the original series, even though they weren't accepted. Or they didn't even really talk about how the mutants were accepted or not in Apocalypse. But now they are. Just for them to not be. So it's not like it matters. The only time it really matters is when this random cop dude is like, hey, my son used to look up to you. And Nightcrawler gets all sad when that guy dies later. But besides that, the public liking the mutants doesn't really matter in this movie at all, and it's just thrown in. It's just not a good movie. Probably would never watch it again, just like Deadpool 2. Even though X-Men 3 sucked, it was at least, an enjoyable bad movie. This movie had nothing that I liked besides a few lines, and that's not enough to rewatch a 2-hour-long movie. When you want to laugh at a bad movie, you can put on X-Men 3. When you want to turn the movie off, you can turn on Deadpool 2 or Dark Phoenix. If you like Deadpool 2, hats off to you, but I thought it was really bad. And that's about it.